Hi everyone, so today I want to show you a really quick and easy card to make. Some of you might have already made this card before, but it's one of those cards that's nice and flat, easy to post. You don't have to pay extra postage for it because it's flat, and it's also really quick to make. And because of what I've used as my topper, you could literally batch make a whole load of these. So if you suddenly get towards Christmas and suddenly think, oh my goodness, I haven't made any Christmas cards, you can easily just manufacture these like no one's business. So on this one here, I've used this, which is actually washi tape from Journal Say. And so what you've got is you've got this gap. So you've got a gap section there, and then it opens up and you've got your white bit there to write your message. But it's so super easy. And these are fabulous. Now I did show these on my Journal Say craft haul, and they literally come on a roll like this, and then you see how they're just literally like a roll, but each one of those, so each one of those pictures, you've got a picture from like here up to here. Each one of those pictures, you can just literally, I just literally stuck these like a whole, maybe set of 3 or whatever I could fit on an A4 really, 2 at a time, just stuck them onto A4 and then just cut them out. And so you've got all these little toppers. So here's another one that I did. This is one on the same roll as this. So imagine they would have been all like this, one after the other on the roll. So I've just stuck them onto a piece of card and made a topper out of them. But they're just so good for this. So something like this. So if you do go over to Journal Say, don't forget to use my code ICEDImages, which will get you 8% off your order. But they're really cheap as well, and they had a whole load of different designs. They do change their stock regularly, like we're talking every week. So they might have new designs out, they might not have any. I don't know what they've got left, but yeah, go and check them out because they do have some fabulous, fabulous things. So this is the card I'm going to show you. Obviously, you could use whatever toppers you've got as well. It's just really very simple. Just adjust your gap depending on how big your topper is. And I wouldn't normally do flat, simple cards like this, but I just thought, I know what it's like. It gets near to Christmas and suddenly it's like, oh my goodness, I need to make like 40 cards and I've made like half of that and I'm running out of time. So these are nice and easy to make and super quick. So let's get into it. Okay, so for this card, I have got a piece of 5 by 12. Now, if you don't have 12-inch length and you've only got 11.5, that's fine. It just means that your gap will be a bit bigger. That's all. It just means you'll have an extra ½ inch on your gap. That's all it means. You might have to alter some of my measurements. So where I've, telling you to cut a certain place, you might have to just alter that slightly. And your mats, obviously your mats and layers will be slightly different. But if you've got a piece that's 5 by 12, you're literally going to score at 7 inches. And that is all the scoring done. If you've got a piece of 5 by 11.5, you still score at 7 inches. And then what you want to do is if you fold along your 7-inch line, this short piece at the front is what you have to play with. So if you've got 11.5, then you're going to have ½ an inch less to play with here than I have. So then what we're going to do, I'm just going to open it up again just so I can see it properly. And then on this edge here, we are just going to mark. So from this end, there's my 7 inch, this is the short section. So from here up here, 1.5 inches, make a mark. And then up this side, I'm going to mark at 2.5 inches from the end. And then we're just going to draw a line from our 1.5 mark across to our 2.5 mark. And if you want to make it more of a slant, you can, or if you want it less of a slant, you can. It's really up to you. You can do exactly what you want. Obviously, if you're going to do this on 11.5, you can do those same measurements. It just means now this gap here is going to be shorter. So at the moment, I've got 2.5 inches here. You'll have 2 inches. Okay, so just bear that in mind when I'm giving out mats and layer measurements. So then we're going to go ahead and take our study knife and ruler, and we're just going to cut along that pencil line. So you end up with your 2 pieces. Now, one thing that I am going to do is I'm going to just turn these round. So I'm going to turn my fold round just because I've got a pencil line there. I don't really want a pencil line, and I don't want to try and rub it out because on coloured card, it can go a bit wrong. So now what we're going to do before we do anything else is just sort this bit out here. So regardless of what size you're using, you're definitely going to need a piece of mat that is 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, and depending on what colour you're using, so obviously here I've got a red base and a white mat. On here I had a white base and a red mat, which then meant I needed a white piece in the middle. Now I cut my white piece in the middle to the same width as my topper. So my topper is, well, my top is 3 3/4, and I cut my white piece to 3 1/2. So I made it just a 1/4 of an inch shorter, so it's not as wide. And then I just went for a 6-inch height, because I didn't want to have, you can make the same border around the outside if you want to. Just see what you want to do it how you want to do it, but that was just what I did for mine. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to stamp this first, and then I'm going to stick this down. Okay, so I've stuck that bit down. So now we need to sort out the front. So obviously on the 5 by 12, you're going to need a piece of mat that is 4 1/2 by 4 3/4. And what you want to do is on the 4 1/2 inch edge, you're going to, obviously this is going to be, this is now going to be this way around. So mine's actually going the, yep, same way as it, no, different way than it was. Okay, it's fine. So it's now going down. So what we're going to do is on here, on this side, we're going to measure up from the bottom 2 1/4. So I'm marking up 2 1/4 on this side, and then on this side I'm going to mark at 1 1/4. And then I'm going to bring my cutting mat back in and just cut that piece across. So then this should now fit really nicely on your base piece, and this one should fit really nicely on there, which it does. So we're going to keep those to one side for now. We'll stick them down in a minute. But while we've got the cutting mat out, we may as well grab our pattern paper. So then on your pattern piece of paper, you want to mark at 3 inches on this side here, if you're doing the same round as me, and 2 inches on this side here. And then we're just going to cut down there. So you should end up with that. Okay, so now we can go ahead and stick our layers together. So that's going to go on there, and this one is going to go on here like that. So I'm going to go ahead now and stick these down. Okay, so I've stuck those down. So now what we're going to do is get your topper. Now obviously I'm going to need to cut a piece of mat for this, and I'm also going to cut a bit of base. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I just think it makes it a bit more, finished. So I'm going to have to cut a piece that is, because it's 3 1/8, so I'm going to have to cut a 3 3/8 by 4 7. So I've cut out a mat that is just a 1/4 inch bigger than my topper, and a base piece that is 1/4 inch bigger than my mat piece. So I'm going to go ahead now and stick those down. Okay, so that's ready now to stick down. So what you need to do is get your 2 pieces, and you want to take this piece here and just lay it right down that bottom, so it lines up along the bottom and on the sides. And then you're going to take this one, and this is going to go over the top. And the trick is to obviously stick this down just where your card is. So you can make it a little bit higher if you want to. Just bear in mind your gap at the top, make sure it's central left and right. Obviously if you're using 11 1/2, you're going to have a bit more of a gap, so just bear that in mind with where you want to put things. I would say make sure if you're doing 11 1/2 inch card length instead of a 12 inch, make sure you take the extra off this top bit, not off this bit, because otherwise that's going to become very narrow. So what I'm going to do, I think, is attach it to the top first and then attach the bottom on. So I am going to just turn this over And I'm going to do it this way round so I can see where the glue is, going. So this is the wrong way around, just so I can see where to glue it or to put tape or whatever. I am going to wet glue this because I do find it slightly easier than adding tape. When I'm adding the glue as well, I try and stay a little bit away from that border edge, just to make sure that I'm not going to end up with it going, in the wrong place. So again, I'm just going to bring this on, just going to lay it all roughly where I think it needs to be, about there, I think, like that. And then I'm just going to flip it over, make sure there's no glue showing, and stick that down. So now we're sticking the bottom part. If you want to, you can just go ahead and kind of guess where your glue is going to be, etc., or you can draw lines on it or whatever. But I find it easier to turn it inside out again, like this. And then if we put this on, so obviously that's going to go on like that. And then we can just draw a line, and it just makes it easier. So I know where to put my glue, and I can just line it up a whole lot easier. And obviously, again, if you're using tape, it just makes it easier. You're not going to see that pencil line because it's on the inside of the card, and especially if you're using dark card like this. And then take this and just plop it over the top like that. Now, obviously, you don't have to do a straight line. If you've got a scalloped edge die, you could use that. If you've got scalloped scissors, you could use those. If you've got a punch that you might want to use, border punch, you could use that. And there is your card. And obviously, I need to let that dry. And then what I've got to do is I'm just going to add a little Merry Christmas, and I'm going to put it on this side here. And I am going to add it with a little bit of silicone gel, just because I really do want it to stand up a little bit, but I still want to be able to post it. And there you have your finished card. So as you can see, that in real life, that took me 20 minutes. Obviously, cutting the pieces out, you've got to add that in, but you could cut out a whole load. If you know what you're doing, you know all your pieces, you can just cut a whole load out. And as I said, sticking these down was so easy. And it's just a nice card, but it's a bit different. You send it to somebody who doesn't, really know about homemade cards. They give it like, that's nicer than what you get from a shop. So yeah, so there you go. So don't forget to check out my paper pads. So this one was, well, both of these I think were from my Yuletide Wishes paper pad, which is available over on Amazon. The digital kit is available in my Ko-fi shop. And then these toppers here were available from Journal Say on that roll, as I showed you at the beginning. So if you use my code ICEDImages, you'll get yourself 8% off your order. Yeah, so don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss a video, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.